Palestine. This small piece of land holds immense weight in our world. It's a land sacred to three major religions. It's a place where history feels alive, and it's at the heart of one of the longest and most complex conflicts in modern times. Understanding Palestine's history is crucial. It helps us understand the passions that fuel this conflict. It reminds us of the human cost of war and displacement, and it underscores the urgent need for peace and justice. This isn't just about ancient history, it's about people's lives today. It's about understanding why millions of Palestinians live as refugees. It's about the struggle for self-determination. And it's about hoping for a future where both Israelis and Palestinians can thrive. The story of Palestine is filled with tragedy and resilience. It's a story of dispossession and resistance. And it's a story that continues to unfold before our eyes. So let's dive in and try to understand this complex and deeply human story. For millennia, the land we now call Palestine has been a crossroads of civilizations. It was ruled by empires like the Romans and Ottomans. It was home to Jews, Samaritans, and Christians long before the arrival of Islam. The arrival of Arab armies in the 7th century brought significant changes. The majority of the population gradually adopted Islam. Arabic became the dominant language, but the region remained diverse, with people of different faiths living side by side. This shared history is important. It shows that Palestine has always been a place of cultural exchange. It highlights the deep roots of both Palestinians and Israelis in the region. And it reminds us that simplistic narratives often ignore the complexities of the past. In the late 19th century, a new movement emerged, Zionism. This movement called for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. It was fueled by centuries of anti-Semitism in Europe and a desire for Jewish self-determination. But it also set the stage for a new chapter of conflict. World War I brought an end to Ottoman rule in Palestine. The British took control, promising both Arabs and Jews a better future. These promises, however, proved difficult to keep. In 1917, the British issued the Balfour Declaration. This document expressed support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. It was a turning point. The declaration was welcomed by Zionists, but it alarmed Palestinians, who rightly saw it as a threat to their own national aspirations. Tensions between the two communities grew. Violence erupted. Under British rule, Jewish immigration to Palestine increased. Land purchases by Jewish organizations displaced some Palestinian farmers, and Jewish settlements expanded, further fueling Palestinian resentment. The British struggled to balance the competing claims of these two peoples. Their policies often favored Jewish interests, further alienating the Palestinian population. By the end of World War II, Palestine was a powder keg, primed for explosion. In 1948, the British withdrew from Palestine. The very next day, Jewish leaders declared the creation of the State of Israel. This event, celebrated by Israelis as their Independence Day, marked a catastrophe for Palestinians. The war that followed resulted in the expulsion or flight of over 700,000 Palestinians from their homes. This event is known as the Nakba, Arabic for catastrophe. It remains a deep wound in the Palestinian psyche. Refugees scattered across the Middle East, ending up in camps in Lebanon, Jordan, and elsewhere. They carried with them the keys to their lost homes and the hope of return. Many of their descendants still live in these camps today. The creation of Israel fundamentally changed the landscape of the Middle East. It created a Jewish state, but also a Palestinian refugee problem that continues to haunt the region. And it set the stage for decades of conflict and mistrust. The decades that followed Israel's creation were, honestly, marked by wars, uprisings, and failed peace attempts. In 1967, Israel fought a war with its Arab neighbors, capturing the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. This victory, while a triumph for Israel, further complicated the situation. It led to the occupation of Palestinian territories and, the displacement of more Palestinians. It also fueled Palestinian resistance both through diplomacy and armed struggle. There were glimmers of hope. The Camp David Accords in 1978 saw Egypt recognize Israel in exchange for the Sinai Peninsula. But the issue of Palestinian self-determination remained, unresolved. The 1990s brought the Oslo Accords. This agreement, signed by Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, aimed for a two-state solution. It created the Palestinian Authority, tasked with limited self-governance in parts of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. However, Oslo failed to deliver a lasting peace. Continued Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank, violence and mistrust on both sides ultimately led to its collapse. The Gaza Strip, a narrow coastal enclave, has faced particularly dire circumstances. After Israel withdrew its settlers and soldiers in 2005, Hamas, a Palestinian Islamist group, won elections and took control. Israel and Egypt subsequently imposed a blockade on Gaza, citing security concerns. This blockade has severely restricted the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza, crippling its economy and creating a humanitarian crisis. Life in Gaza is incredibly challenging. The population suffers from high unemployment, poverty, and limited access to basic needs like clean water and electricity. The ongoing conflict has also taken a heavy toll on the mental health of Gaza's residents, particularly children. Despite these hardships, the people of Gaza remain resilient. They have shown remarkable strength and determination in the face of adversity. Their story is a powerful reminder of the human cost of this conflict and the urgent need for a just and lasting solution. In October 2023, the world watched in horror as a new wave of violence erupted between Israel and Hamas. The conflict began with a surprise attack by Hamas on southern Israel, resulting in significant casualties and the taking of hostages. Israel responded with a massive military operation in Gaza. The fighting caused widespread destruction and a devastating loss of life, mostly among Palestinian civilians. The images of shattered buildings and grieving families shocked the world. After weeks of fighting, a ceasefire was reached in January 2025. Hamas released the remaining hostages in exchange for the release of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. But the underlying issues remain unresolved. The 2023 to 2025 conflict further complicated an already intractable situation. It deepened the divide between Israelis and Palestinians, making the prospect of peace even more elusive. And it left Gaza in ruins, with the long and arduous task of rebuilding still ahead. Throughout this conflict, the international community has played a complex and often controversial role. The United Nations has been involved since 1948, providing humanitarian aid through UNRWA, the agency responsible for Palestinian refugees. The UN has also passed numerous resolutions condemning Israeli settlements and calling for a two-state solution. However, these resolutions have often been ignored or dismissed by Israel. The UN's effectiveness in resolving the conflict has been limited. Media organizations like Al Jazeera have played a crucial role in covering the conflict, often providing a different perspective from Western media outlets. Al Jazeera's coverage has been praised by some for its on-the-ground reporting and amplifying Palestinian voices. However, Al Jazeera has also faced criticism and accusations of bias from both sides. Its offices in Gaza were destroyed by Israeli airstrikes in 2021, an act condemned by press freedom groups. The incident highlighted the dangers faced by journalists reporting on this conflict. As we look to the future, the path to peace in Palestine remains uncertain. The two-state solution, once seen as the most viable option, seems increasingly distant. Mistrust runs deep, and the cycle of violence continues. Despite the challenges, there are glimmers of hope. Many Israelis and Palestinians still believe in the possibility of a shared future. Grassroots peace movements continue to build bridges and challenge the status quo. Ultimately, a lasting solution will require courageous leadership, difficult compromises, and a genuine commitment to peace from both sides. The international community must also play a more constructive role, providing support for peace initiatives and holding all parties accountable for their actions. The story of Palestine is a reminder that peace is a process, not an event. It's a story that demands our attention, our empathy, and our unwavering commitment to justice for all. The future of this land and its people hangs in the balance, and we must all do our part to help write a more hopeful chapter.